and people will say, he's in a better place. What's wrong with that?
Fire away on that one, because I know that's a big one for you.
I would avoid that one at all costs. That is the wrong time and place to be bringing that up, because to someone who has just lost somebody that they loved with all their heart, the only place they want them to be is right there.
Mm-hmm. Right next to them.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to podcast number 184, Renew Your Mind. With us today, we have Senior Pastor Paul Gruenberg. We have retired Pastor Barry Sweet. We have Pastor Jeremy Touroo. We have our Youth and Family Director and Praise Band Leader, Julie Kettlewell. Myself, Dana Hall, as the moderator, and our very special guest, Julie Kettlewell, as a grief counselor. And we've been having, we want to pick up right away where we left off from our last podcast about what are some of the best and the worst things to actually say to someone in grief. So, Julie?
All right. This is probably an anxiety issue for anybody who's ever had to go to a visitation at a funeral home or at a funeral. Is, you have to go up and you need to say something to the bereaved. And you don't know what to say, so you go up there and you say something that, well, I've heard my parents say this, and I've heard so-and-so say this, so it must be the right thing, so you say it. And more often than not, it's probably the wrong thing to say, but, you do it because you've heard it over and over and over again, and your parents heard it from their parents, and, it goes through generations.
It was their time.
It was their time, yeah. That's a bad one. But anyway, yeah, so you say these things, and they end up being just empty platitudes. And after a while, the bereaved are standing there. They're already just in a state. And so they're not even hearing any of them anymore, because the same ones are repeated over and over and over again. What they want to hear is what a wonderful person their loved one was, or a fun memory you had of that person, or a warm memory that you had, or, sometimes if you just don't know what to say, just don't say anything. Just give them a hug and say, I'm here, or, just give them a hug. But there are some things that are just so hurtful and offensive, and I think we should talk about those, because people need to know. It's more important to knowing what not to say.
Yeah.
Than what it is.
I like what you said, that maybe you learned this, from other people, and you didn't know it was bad.
That's right.
So I think, don't feel bad if you're saying the wrong thing, but now recognize it going forward.
Exactly.
So Julie, you have something you've given to us from grief.com. Grief.com, and one is the worst things to say to someone in grief, and the other one is the best things to say to someone in grief. So let's just look at the worst things. And as we go through these, and you're listening, think in terms of, have you heard this mentioned before? As Julie was saying, your parents or your aunts and uncles or someone older than you, you've heard this used, or maybe have even used it yourself. These are not the things you want to say.
Right. Yeah, I refer to them as kind of generational faux pas, because it's just been passed down and passed down. Right. So we need to come up with some new ones. But, I'm sorry.
No. So just looking at this list, at least she lived a long life. Many people die young.
Seems like never start with at least.
Never start with at least.
Yeah, in the beginning of that phrase, you're minimizing the situation.
Right.
That's right. You have diminished the death and the life.
So for a lot of people, they might think number 2 is a good one because it's been a prolonged illness. It was, the time was going to come when they were going to die. And people will say, he's in a better place. What's wrong with that?
Fire away on that one, because I know that's a big one for you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I would avoid that one at all costs. It doesn't even matter if that's part of what your belief system is. That is the wrong time and place to be bringing that up, because to someone who has just lost somebody that they loved with all their heart, the only place they want them to be is right there.
Right next to him.
Yep. The thought of saying any place is better than that. And I called somebody out on that once, and I was in grief. I wasn't thinking. I was just being honest. And I said, I think right here with me would really be a better place, but thanks. And that person probably felt awful, and I felt awful for making that person feel awful, but it just, my filter wasn't on, and it just
Well, you were grieving.
came out.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I bet that person's never said that to anybody again, but
Well, I think
Wow, are you a good educator?
I didn't even know I was an educator, and there I was.
I think it's important mindset-wise for us to just realize in those situations that it's not incumbent on anyone else to tell the person. It's incumbent on that person to come to terms with that on their own,
Right.
and accept that, okay, my loved one's in heaven now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm at peace with that.
Right.
Right.
But it's no one else's responsibility to tell you
How you should
how
feel.
you should be feeling about
That's
that.
right. How you should be looking at it.
So there's number 3. She brought this on herself. You can think of that in regard to like drug addiction or something like that. Why wouldn't you say that?
Blame.
Well, judgment has no place
Uh-huh.
there. And, give me your list of imperfections. Oh, you don't have any? See, that would be
Yeah.
just like me to blurt that out. That, I can't believe anybody would ever say that.
I would hope
Yeah.
not.
Just no helpfulness
Ever.
there at all.
Or how about there's a reason for everything? I hate that one.
Well,
It's as though God, and to me this is almost saying that God took your loved one away, and that's the reason for it.
mhm.
There's a reason for everything. For getting in a car accident
Right.
with somebody who is drunk, or there's no reason.
Part of
for
God's
that.
plan.
Right.
Oh,
And that almost
hate-
is
I
like
hate that one,
blaming too, because, what did that person do that was so bad that they're paying for it with their life? Or what did I do that he's taking my loved one away
Mhm.
from me,
And it makes you angry at God.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that tends to happen anyway.
Oh,
it
yeah.
does.
So
it does.
aren't you over him yet? He's been dead for a while now.
Just want to slap him when you hear that one, don't you?
Pretty much.
Well, and that's the ignorance of understanding grief.
Right.
And this is where we talked earlier about knowing and understanding a general process of grief will give you clues as to not saying some of these things.
Right. Right.
I'm not even going to say number 6.
Yeah. And I have actually heard that.
You can
People
have another
actually-
child still.
Or at least you have other children at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how
Like-
does that fill that?
In what
Empty
realm is
set.
that helpful?
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not helpful.
Not at
And
all.
you can have another child. Okay, do you know that for a fact? How do you know that?
And even if so, you can't have
You
that
can't
child.
replace that
Yeah.
child that you
Right.
just lost.
And that comes
It's-
out of just ignorance and trying
It's
to come
just
up with
ignorance.
words that help that don't help.
Yeah.
And number 7 is just as bad. She was such a good person. God wanted her to be with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like BS, you
If-
know. I'm sorry.
yeah.
God
Yeah.
knew how much I loved them. Why couldn't have God left that person with me longer?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, we've kind of touched on. I know how you feel.
No, you don't.
You may have lost a spouse, and you may have lost a spouse in the same way, but your relationship is different. How you process is different. You don't know exactly how people feel, and that goes with, I understand how you feel. You just don't say that. Number 9, she did what she came here to do, and it was her time to go. Oh, Jeremy, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be like, I didn't know you were God. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for defining
Yeah,
what.
thanks
what
for
this
rendering a
person's
judgment
life-
on that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
That's,
then,
it's just not helpful.
Number 10, be strong. It's like,
Okay, that is the one that just sends me right into
Yeah.
orbit. And I tell people,
you know-
you don't have to be strong.
Yeah, and I totally agree. You don't have to be strong, but when people are saying it, they mean it well. Like,
Mm.
be strong as you go forward, and they have no idea how terrible that really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And I understand that perspective, but that's not the way it's received when you're standing there
Exactly. Yeah.
and when you're on the receiving end. And then, and I had so many people tell me that. And then they would say, look, you know what? Life hasn't stopped. You still have to do this, this, and this. Actually, no, I don't. So mind your
right.
own. So
And
To me-
so all of these are, and I think you mentioned it, Barry, these are these sentences with some type of form of at least,
at least,
Yeah.
as though we're discounting the loss.
Mhm.
right.
And, well, at least
Mm-hmm.
you're here, or at least,
Yeah.
you still have a house, or at least, those things aren't helpful
No.
to a grieving person.
No, I was trying
Jeremy,
to-
were you looked like you were wanting to say
Oh
something.
no, I just had on the be strong comment.
Mhm.
To me, that's speaking to them. You're not strong.
Yeah.
And you need to
Mhm.
become.
You're
strong.
not good enough.
Right. You're not in strength right now. Get
And
yourself
that's
some
where
strength.
Shame
that kind
comes
of-
in because you're
That's
made to feel
right.
bad because you're
That's right.
not all put together.
But
That's right.
There's another principle that's coming to me here. It's that just because something is true in this situation does not mean it's helpful for you to say it.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
if this person belonged to Christ, then that person is in a better place. That's true, but that doesn't mean it's helpful for you to say that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not helpful
And it's
at all.
not the right
Timing or
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah,
because
nearly-
it's true doesn't give you license to say it.
Nearly everything on the list outside of the "Aren't you over him yet?" Nearly everything on the list can be true to an extent,
Mhm.
and all of them would arguably be well intentioned.
Mhm.
Oh, sure.
Right.
You
And they
know,
probably
It's the
usually
delivery.
are, but-
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And the timing. It's not
Yeah.
the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So even though you went through these before, can we list again, or at least the things that we should say? I mean, we've said a lot of them.
absolutely.
Can I? So
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
start that list, the start of the best things to say list, I think, is a crossover between the two. And please, everyone, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you always do. I'm so sorry for your loss. I feel like that can land on both lists because it can be so. It can sound and feel so cliche and empty.
It's one of those empty platitudes
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
it's the go-to. So, yeah.
So it is a safer place to be than in the list of the not
It
things
is.
to say.
It is
Yes.
much safer.
And most people are sorry for your loss.
And sorry
My
for what you're going
condolences.
through.
Mhm.
Well, and you're acknowledging that it is a loss.
Yeah.
Right.
too.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
naming that. But
But it
That's a
doesn't,
weird
it doesn't
one.
really help, though.
No,
It's
it's
so
not really
generic.
helpful. It just
yeah.
gets you through that line.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's
get you
all.
through that.
It gets-
So number 2, I wish I had the right words. Just know I care. And I think anyone who is going through a bereavement line or meeting with somebody for the first time, that's absolutely true.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I wish I had the right words, but I don't. But just know I care.
Mhm.
I don't know how you feel. Again, that's acknowledging the truth,
Mhm.
but I'm here to help you in any way I can.
You have to be willing to back that up, though,
Yeah.
and not
Right.
make it an empty
That's right.
phrase.
An empty phrase, yeah.
Number 4, you and your loved one will be in my thoughts and prayers. How does that help?
I've got mixed emotions on that one too, because it feels so, sometimes people say it and look at you with this, I don't know, with such pity that it makes you feel almost uncomfortable. Even though I love that people pray for my intentions or for
Mhm.
my, we pray for other people.
Mhm.
So I understand that. So it's comforting in a way, but at the same time, it almost makes me uncomfortable because then I feel like sometimes it doesn't sound sincere, or or that's another thing that people just say
And don't follow through.
and don't follow through. But again, that's maybe just my insecurities or whatever that sometimes it hits me wrong, and a lot of times it's the person that's saying it that can.
I think
that
there's
can hit
Sure.
wrong.
No, I think there's a lot of validity to that because it's even gotten to a point where, anymore, especially in our super sped up abbreviated world, people will not even go to the extent of saying the full phrase. They'll just go thoughts and prayers.
Yeah,
That means nothing. You might as well be saying peas and peanuts.
yeah.
And usually,
Or you just do this.
if you know the person in front of you, you know whether it's legitimate or
That's
not,
right.
whether they'll really do it or
Right.
not.
That's exactly
A
right.
lot of people that come by you, though, that may say that, you don't have a clue.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where it's not helpful.
Depends
is
on
if
the
you don't
story.
have that
Then it's empty.
relationship.
Yeah.
So number 5, when I've been in with families, usually it's either a long illness or an older person, and they pass away. For me, that's a really sacred time. Especially if I know they're a Christian, they've crossed the threshold from this life to the life to come. They're with Jesus. All of those platitudes that we don't want to say at the moment. But one of the things, not immediately, but I like to try to get people to just remember their loved one. And even when they're still alive, we'll talk. I want to focus on their life. What are the memories that you have? What was that thing you told me about having gone fishing with them
Mhm.
and caught this big one? Or what was their favorite joke? And getting them to think in terms of the wonderful times they've had
Right.
together. Now, your death was the death of a daughter and not like a husband or an uncle or something like that. Not that it changes grief, but you have a history that you can go back to and remember some joyful times or some funny times. Like you said, to be able to laugh at and hear yourself laughing
We
again.
laugh about her all the time.
Well, I think that's something I think is so helpful, and to give up a family secret. I'm sorry about this, but the family secret is not that we've had a lot of death in our family, but over the course of the last decade or so, we've lost a number of people in our
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And something that started as, well, we have a cheeky running joke that we put the fun in funeral, which sounds so horrible, but the laughter is important. It's
It's
remembering
really
that person and
important.
laughing, but we've actually, unfortunately, there's been enough of them over the years that we've got a standard routine that we do now. If a family member passes, we all just get together that night. We don't wait for a viewing, we get together that night. We cry, but we do mostly a lot of laughing.
Yep.
We talk about that person's life.
Mhm.
That I think is the most helpful.
Mhm.
The
It gets
best
us
thing on
through
the
the
list.
next few
Oh,
days
yeah.
that
That's
are
right.
just nothing
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Well, and think in terms of what happens for the process between the death and the funeral. People oftentimes put those picture boards up. There's a lot of healing that goes on there.
There
Sure.
is.
A lot of memories, a lot of, recalling the person in their best.
Mhm.
And I think I always I try to move in that direction with people. Tell me about a good experience you guys had together or something like that, so that they're not just, the grieving is there. You can't move them from grieving, but you can also remind them of just the joy of having been with them.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Let's see. Number 6, I'm always just a phone call away. Nowadays, there's texting and stuff like that. One of the things I'm sure the grieving persons hear a lot are, "How are you doing?"
Mhm.
Do you want that question asked?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Not helpful.
because then we have to lie.
That
And
should
say,
be on
"I'm fine."
the worst
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
list.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, and then give a hug instead of saying something.
That's
That's-
my favorite one.
That
Mhm.
me too. Or I think I mentioned this last time, but I'll just say I love you
Yep,
and hug.
Yeah, that's
Depending on who it is.
you can't go
And
wrong.
that's
Number 8, we all need help at times like this. I'm here for you.
Then mean it.
You got to
Then
back
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then number 9, I am usually up early or late if you need anything. And that's part of the follow through, right?
Mm-hmm. Again, you have to be sincere in that.
And then you've already mentioned number 10, say nothing, just be with the
Mhm.
person.
It's kind of like the hug.
Yeah.
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 And it's also important to remember that you don't have to, if you really don't know what to say, don't start just saying things to fill up all that empty space surrounding the casket and the bereaved, because trying to distract them from, why we're there. Well, they know why you're there. Everybody knows why. Filling the air with words is not going to.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
I've been thinking this. We've been going through both of these lists. That less is more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The more you talk, the more likely something's going to come out.
Come out.
That's right.
Not
Yeah.
helpful.
That's right.
With the
For
one
sure.
exception of sharing fond memories.
Right.
Yes.
That
Yes.
one.
That's right.
That one. It just seems you almost can't really go wrong. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's going to be hard for everyone involved.
Mhm.
But if you're just sharing a loving, fond memory, that seems to be just a solid way to be able to connect with that person
Mhm.
in such a difficult and
Mhm.
awkward time. That's an awkward time to approach somebody and try to talk
Right.
to someone.
Yeah.
And I think the key word is fond. You don't want to dredge up bad memories or
Right.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're not going to get to our last topic, Julie.
Oh,
I guess you're coming back.
oh my
Yes.
gosh.
I'm
We're
so
done
sorry.
already?
We are
Wow.
going to have to wrap it up.
All right.
What we did want to talk about, just as a teaser, and if Julie will come back again.
It's my 3 G's.
Yeah, the 3 G's, why grieving people isolate themselves: guilt, grace, and gratitude. So, and I know we are out of time. So,
All right.
All right.
Well, so you're forced to have me back then?
yep.
Is that what you're saying?
We invite you back.
Well, I'll
Absolutely.
check my calendar.
All right.
I would be really
Oh.
happy to come back.
Okay. Well, we would love
Great.
to. Julie has a Facebook page that's coming out, so make sure to look for that. And then we can talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit more.
And that will
Yeah.
be titled Regarding Grief.
regarding grief.
Regarding
Pretty
grief.
much covers,
Mhm.
leaves it pretty open-ended. I can touch on a lot of things.
And that's
Okay.
Facebook page.
That's Facebook. My website probably won't be up for, I don't know, the way things have been going lately. It could be another month. So
Good grief.
I know. Good
I'm
grief.
sorry. I had to find an
I knew
opening.
that was
I
going to
couldn't
come
help
up
it.
somewhere. It couldn't not come up.
All
So-
right. Just as a reminder, as we approach Easter for Holy Week, we have several activities at the Gaylord Methodist Church. That's where we come to you from. So check out our website Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. There's a lot of things going on, and we'd love to have you join us. And then on Easter Sunday, we have, did you say 3 services?
Yes, we have a sunrise,
Sunrise.
service at 7:30. That's going to be youth driven. And then we'll have our traditional Easter service at 9 a.m. and then our contemporary service at 10:45. And
Okay.
between 9 and the 10:45, we will have a breakfast.
Okay, so please come. If you can't come in person, though, you can watch us on Facebook and YouTube as well. And we also have Wednesday evening services every second and fourth Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. If you have any questions, you can contact us at 989-732-5380. Check out our website. And we just really appreciate you listening today. Thank you, Julie, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Julie.
Bye.